Okay, we are on. So good morning, everybody. Good evening. We've got a number of things to go through today, and most of it will be showcased because there's a number of updates to make. Things are continuing to evolve very quickly. The NFT space is just straight up exploding. So I got like news and insights to kind of bring back to the team and share because I've been spending a good chunk of time outside our core ecosystem and connecting with all these different communities. So first thing I wanted to do was revisit our why. So about a month ago, we did a workshop exercise on Miro to talk through, why we exist, what we're trying to do, and how we're trying to accomplish that. I've got some updates as well on new partnerships that are going to help us achieve those goals. And then if we've got some time, I'd love to kind of walk through the awesome work our engineering team did and show you how Caicas has now been integrated into Leyline and how you can now already start to sell Leyline NFTs on OpenSea. So figured that'd be useful for everybody to have available. And because it's a new user experience for sure, and there's some hurdles to get over. So I am happy to help out where I can there. All right, so first thing is this was the Miro board we worked on last time around when we asked the question, why do we exist? So the three components were, okay, why do we exist? How can we help? And then what does that actually look like? So we'd put up a bunch of different stickies around, okay, helping humanity achieve sustainability, climate change, ecosystem collapse, COVID-19, world hunger. There's a whole lot of different things that we could do. And the question is, what's that one thing? If we were to say this one piece is the mission, really, it really centers around eradicating poverty, because this is the angle. This is something that we can absolutely do. When we originally came together, this whole sense of let's build this economy of altruism. The fundamentals behind economy is about money flow. So if we change the way that money flows in our ecosystem, that's the element where we can eradicate poverty. Because right now the flow of money is just really going right to the top and getting consolidated there. So how do we redistribute that in a much more equitable fashion? So leading into eradicating poverty, how do we actually help? And the key here is we make everybody rich by rewarding the people who do good. That's the key. And the fact that we are globally available, we have this outsized impact on individuals that are in underserved communities where their income levels are literally, $100 or less for an entire year to sustain themselves, to get food on the table, to have a roof over their heads. So I think it's really important to understand why poverty is such a terrible thing in the world. So to give a summary of the elements that poverty impacts, first and foremost, it impacts health. People there's starvation, and then there's exposure, which impacts life expectancy. It impacts disease, especially diseases that we already have cures for and vaccines. People simply cannot get access to that because the price of medicine is too high. And child mortality rates are also extremely high too. So literally, it's saving lives just by getting money into people's hands. Second, it has an impact on education. So there's inaccessibility to proper schooling. Teachers don't get paid. Children have to work early and then they don't have time to get an education, which then has these outsized effects because it affects the economy. There's no jobs available. There's no businesses to thrive. So this is a massive problem, and it's a drag on society because all these individuals have incredible potential. They have these incredible brains and creative minds. There's nothing that separates us from other people. It's literally just the situation that they're based in. So now imagine unlocking 13 points of IQ across the entire planet for billions of people. What could that do for Earth? What could that do for science and the arts? So education is a massive impact, which then also leads to crime because people are desperate for resources. So they're forced to steal resources, to join gangs, to do all these terrible, nasty things that are not good for society. It also ruins relationships. Cases of domestic abuse rise depending on your income status, and all sorts of terrible family troubles. And then there's this underlying impact, because when you're in a mindset of scarcity, you're losing the functions of your prefrontal cortex, and you need that executive function to actually resist behaviors like tribalism and racism. And you expand it out to nationalism, where it's like, okay, America first or whatever. And then that opens up the pathway for authoritarians to come in and lead people astray. Which then leads to war, unfortunately. So there is this massive underlying set of issues that poverty actually creates. These conditions are actually the key, the root of a lot of our current problems. And it's not the only reason, of course, but it's a massive factor. And so what are the benefits? What are the benefits of helping to eradicate poverty? One, it's economic growth and prosperity. So now imagine if 1 billion more people can afford to buy products, to buy your art, to buy your games. That is a massive boost to GDP, which then again, like feeds into itself, which is also taxable. So it creates tax revenue as well. Then there's also consumer demand for innovation. So now imagine this. Imagine if we have 2 more billion people that have the ability to pay for cancer research. That is going to drive innovation through the roof, because it doubles your market size for everybody that you can actually innovate towards. So consumer demand is really powerful for innovators, for entrepreneurs to identify a new market. So we want people to get money, because it's actually going to help us. Like, we all want a cure for cancer, right? Like, we want to cure diseases. We want to live longer. So let's have other people afford to do that too. And it's going to make entrepreneurs jump into that space. In addition, there are a lot of trials on basic income, for example, that demonstrate that when money gets into people's hands, there's an increase in the arts and music and in philanthropy and volunteering. And then most importantly, people are able to not have to work these like crazy hours, and it can spend more time with their kids and invest in raising their children, which is probably the most important job on the planet. So there are a lot of really critical reasons why poverty just simply needs to be eradicated. There's literally no reason why anybody on a planet needs to be starving while we have billionaires like flying themselves up into space. That's just a function of a broken economy and a system that needs rewiring. So I really wanted to emphasize that, because sometimes it's not as easy to grasp all the different factors related to extreme poverty. And so that is why we are building our platform. So essentially, we are building this NFT loyalty program or digital collectible game that rewards people for doing good in the world. We memorialize your story of your good deeds into these NFTs. We create a marketplace where artists are creating their work that's sellable in a marketplace that has these stories baked in, where we give commissions back to the artists, we give proceeds to the prize pool, and use the prize pool to distribute cash to people that are doing good. So it creates this whole ecosystem. And there's unfortunately, like, I have not designed this stuff like very well, so just pardon me for just only sticky notes. So if we talk about that value exchange, this is the way that it can get broken down. I just want to make sure I'm sharing my screen. Okay, thank God. I was worried I wasn't sharing my screen as usual. Okay, so here's the idea. We've got our platform here with Leyline, and our value proposition is that we are a trusted platform. We're open source, we're open knowledge, fully transparent. We're partnering with NGOs and nonprofits and social impact organizations, so people know that the stuff that they do on a platform is genuinely good. That is really our hook as the platform. And what happens is now we have artists that are either creating or donating their NFTs. And what we want to set up is now, as these things get sold, the artist can have a secondary sale income off of that. So Andrew and Christine, the whole plan here is all these artworks that you're creating, we're going to build a commission right into that smart contract. So you just set up your wallet, and every time it gets sold, it's going to just pour money right back into your Caicas wallet. At the same time, the way it gets purchased is that we are basically talking and communicating and building or plugging into this community of NFT collectors and buyers. These are people that are fully into crypto, that believe in what blockchain can do for the world, love NFTs, want to support it, have probably a ton of money because they got crypto rich, and or they're art collectors and they're trying to invest or diversify their investment portfolio. So this cohort does exist, and it's growing day by day, literally by the thousands, like in these communities. So our hook is, okay, the story behind our NFTs sets us apart from all these different assets that are out there. Because right now, the whole craze is literally just for like JPEGs. Someone like uploads an image or a video, and then that's it. But what's going to separate things in the future are, what is the story behind the NFT? Who are the people behind it? What's the community behind it? What impact did they have in the real world? Where's that value? Because, you know, within 5 years, AI is just going to be able to generate any art piece or any music that we want. It's already happening now. So what's going to separate the value of these art pieces versus the machines is the people and their stories behind it. So we want to lean into that and tie it back to real world good, real world value. So that's where we're going to appeal to these collectors, because there's a purpose behind us. There's a value in the real world, and there's a story. So now we've got those art pieces and the buyers, but the key now is partnering with these NGOs or nonprofits or social impact orgs, because we want to tie it to real good. And we're not the arbiters of good. I don't think like we know exactly what that is. We're the platform. We're developing this platform, and we're growing this community. So it's the folks that are working on the ground, the boots on the ground, the people that are doing the hard work of curing diseases, of doing science, of helping these people trying to get fresh water or plant trees. So we want to make sure that we're supercharging their efforts, that we are flowing users and volunteers and money in their direction. And they are connected to the people that they're serving, the ones that are truly suffering, that the ones that are in need. And so it creates this entire value flow, this ecosystem of the connecting the people that are collectors, that are crypto rich, or the artists, having that into the platform, connecting the nonprofit piece of it, and then connecting that to the users and getting the money into their hands while they're improving their own health and their own communities. So it creates this, you know, recurring feedback loop of positivity all over, and it's just win, 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 win for every stakeholder. So yeah, that the key there is, when we are generating leyline points, what we're aiming for is a proof of good protocol. So instead of proof of stake or proof of work, you've got to prove that you've actually done good in the world. And so this has been the challenge for us, like, how do we narrow down that message such that it's super clear that, hey, you come into Leyline, you can do X amount of things. Right now we have a very wide variety, or rather we have like a few key activities that we do that still need fleshing out, and they could expand into everything. But how do we hone in on our message? And so I think that's the key, where if we just focus on wellness and disease, that's going to enable these first cohorts to just say, okay, got it. I'm going to go in here, take care of my health, to help my community, donate some blood. And this is actually going to be a discovery process in terms of what these NGOs actually do on the ground. And I'll go into some examples with some new partnerships. But before I do that, I'd love to get some questions or feedback. If you'd like to raise a hand, happy to answer that. I'm going to pause. All right. Yes, someone has a hand up. I can't see it though.
It's me.
Okay. Yes, Brian.
Hey, I know in previous iterations and everything, another one of our goals has been climate change. I really like focusing our message on pretty much everything you've just described. So it might make it a more clear pitch in the future, or message or whatever, if we kind of drop that outwardly focused one on climate change. Not that we don't care about it, It just focuses the message, and it doesn't mean that we can't make decisions to be carbon neutral or carbon negative ourselves, but spreading ourselves, trying to tackle both, especially when we can have a direct impact on the former versus the latter, it might help pitches and whatnot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I would say climate change is it's a reach right now. I think it's good for us to incrementally get there. And, certainly it's it's in our sights, it's on the radar. But in terms of messaging, yes, we would focus it down to, community and individual wellness. And knowing that we can master that and demonstrating we can master that, it gives us the foundation to expand onto these other impact areas. And a part of it too will also depend on the opportunities that arise for us, because what happens is that we just get these connections to different NGOs and nonprofits. One example, Bene has just been able to make these connections with different nonprofit and social impact orgs like Ecosia with their search engine that helps plant trees, or other citizen science games. And depending on the level of integration, the ease and the alignment of a purpose, that ends up being an opportunity as a new activity. But regardless, yes, you're right. For now, let's keep the message really focused. Some of it we might have surprising opportunities pop in. And I hope that helps explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Christian, you got a hand up?
Yeah. I just want to say I really like the idea of focusing the message on a common cause, and I think the poverty, your explanation of how poverty sort of tiers and flows and affects everything sort of upstream, I think is a really good one. I like it all overall. I think it's much clearer than trying to pretend that we're trying to solve every problem. My only concern would be that I think when we're communicating that outwardly, we need to be careful that we either communicate it as a goal, say, is it to lift 10,000 people out of poverty in the next 5 years? So something that's finite, that does, just to make sure that we're not coming across as arrogant or something. Mm-hmm. Because the idea of us thinking that we can come along and single-handedly wipe out poverty is a pretty big claim. Mm-hmm. And I think that's great if that's our plan and our intention. I just think we need to be a little bit more modest in sort of our outward communications in terms of I'm totally down with being crazy enough to think we can do it, but I think some people aren't going to receive that positively, I guess, would be my only concern.
Yeah, I feel 100%. And I think that is very much where we want to clarify, be very clear in the messaging. So I think one element is this should be the mission. So the mission statement for every company has to be this crazy ambitious, vision of the future. So, to me, I think I'm kind of bouncing back and forth with Christopher on what that updated mission statement should be, and could be to the lines of, eradicate poverty or help eradicate poverty by paying people who do good or rewarding people who do good. But how we get there and the steps to do that, for sure, I think we need to have concrete goals tied to that mission, which I think can be much more conservative or achievable and timely. And there's this other element too, where I think the how, it's not really through our platform, is that we're part of this broader movement of different blockchain organizations that are building these kind of universal basic income type programs, as well as government programs, as well as it's kind of like a full frontal assault. So I think we plug into this broader ecosystem of people trying to solve the same problem. So we're kind of a contributor into the space. And I think we just come in with a unique angle of bringing in this gamification to bring in this connection and specific to nonprofits, and also just our own approach to how we run the organization, which is about filling that prize pool with as much money as possible and just keep on distributing out to people. So that's a great call. I think messaging and being clear about that is super critical. So thanks for that. Stuff we'll have to put on a website and for ourselves.
Yeah, no, I think there's something cool, really cool there too, in the idea that like, yeah, we're not the NGOs. We're just providing a tool set for them. You know, so it's something along the lines of like, you know, the nonprofits or the resources of the companies that will eradicate poverty already exist. We're just kind of like helping to get them talking to each other, or helping to increase you know, their ability to function.
Yeah, 100%. And just tossing money and volunteers their way too. So we're like this amplifier for all that we do. And so it's like, it's both amplifying everybody else while also having the super efficient cash distribution straight to the people. So it's, yeah, it becomes this just like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like one of those spinning sprinklers or a flywheel or something like that. It's just like splurting money all over the place. If that works. Yeah, that's right. We're going to make it rain all over the planet with NFTs. Brian, yes, hand up.
Yeah, I really like what Christian said. And typically the way nonprofits describe that message is the vision is the big, giant, lofty goal, right? That's like kind of in a perfect world, we would have this. And it may not ever be, you know, within grasp kind of thing, but it's always what we're aiming towards, right? And then the mission is like the how, or how do we get there kind of thing, or what are we doing right now kind of to do that. So that's a good way to kind of put it out there in a common language or kind of a common construct.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, that means that there's like additional copy editing to do here of the mission, the vision, how we get there, and probably also plug in that specific context. So what I'm going to do is like write up the real core details around the why. I think it's super important that it's good for us to recognize, but it's also super important for people that are trying to understand what we're doing to know that why. And there are many, many studies that I'll be able to reference to. So I'm going to do some writing over the next week or so to put that in place. So I think being really clear and transparent about that message is critical, because what I'm finding is that as I go out to these communities and have these conversations that say, this is what we're trying to do, man, it clicks. These communities love it. And this NFT space is really all about social change and trying to figure out what's the value back to the society. And I come in there and talk, they're just like, this is what we need. This is absolutely it. Let's like work together now. So that's powerful to know that there's this message that's resonating that really fits, and the product's like now refined to provide value into this community. Because by investing here in these early adopters, these are going to be the ones that be your strongest advocates, your most dedicated users, who then spread it far and wide. And it's moving fast, way faster than I anticipated. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of momentum. So any other questions? Oh, actually, so I'll also do this. Let's do, there's some messages here. Do we still have reduced barrier for entry to do good? Yes. So yeah, absolutely. That's a good chunk of our how, Bene, which is how do we make this as easy as possible? And now when we think about, okay, if we have, cohorts in Africa and Nepal, they're not going to really have desktop computers or laptops. They're probably just going to be on a phone, smartphone, Android phone. So how do we make that as easy as possible, where someone on their tiny screen can participate and get that and get the NFT and sell on OpenSea? We've really got to streamline that and make it easy. So it's got to be, we got to measure that in number of button clicks, how easy and accessible that's going to be. And the same element is, how do we actually bring a community together so they're supporting each other and giving each other tips on how to do this stuff, or they're explaining how to set up their NFTs, etc. So that is just as important as the product experience is the community experience, and this sense that, hey, there are other people that are trying to do the same thing here, and then there are people sharing their stories of how their lives have changed and how their communities have changed thanks to what we're building here. I think that's really critical to think about how we're approaching our product as well as the community engagement. And let's see, Kareem, what do you mean by catalyst? Sorry.
Was just reacting on the naming for accelerating, helping, enhancing.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, we have some wordsmithing to do basically on the About Us page, so it'll continue to grow over time. I'm not sure if we should just have all this dumped as text on this page, so I'm considering whether or not we just have like a Medium or a Substack or WordPress where we just like continually write articles. I'm thinking about it, but not yet decided. Okay, yes, Paco.
We should quickly receive some updates on the redesign of that page. And somebody mentioned having some tabs. So let's see if Daniel and Joshua actually think this week might give us some updates on that. That could make it less text heavy.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Okay, so what I'd love to do is to get a fist of 5. So fist or 0 is this is bananas. What the hell am I doing here? Or 5, this is exactly what we need, and this is a much better direction or much clearer direction. So go ahead and post in chat and give us a 0 to 5 and anywhere in between, depending how you feel. Wars, right? All right. Nice. Okay, good signs. Cool. All right. Well, so yeah, we'll continue to refine this. So yeah, next steps are, okay, if that is the mission, the vision, the how do we demonstrate that? That is the elusive thing, is what is the proof of that concept? So we are actually in good shape here because in these NFT communities, we have people that are now reaching out and saying, okay, I want to help. I want to make this thing happen. So the 2 or 3 latest opportunities are actually with the Red Cross based in Botswana and healingtogether.org out in Nepal. So to share that, so I'll start with Healing Together. This will take a little bit longer because the CEO is actually just went on vacation, so it'll take another couple of weeks for us to get rolling there, which is good, which is fine. So this group actually focuses on healing folks that have suffered from trauma, from violence and oppression. And so what they do is they actually hold and train individuals that can provide that support. So instead of trying to rely on like hiring a bunch of professionals or flying them out from Western nations going out there, they're actually doing a distributed model where they empower other people to help others. They organize actual coaching and training, and then they actually have the people run those events. So they're actually very local on the ground in Nepal and other areas in East Africa. And they have done it purely in physical presence. So they actually are seeing this giant opportunity with a digital community and also plugging in rewards on top of that and also leveraging NFTs as part of their story. So this is going to be a very powerful opportunity to identify a test cohort, which is, okay, here's the NGO, here's 5 to 10 individuals that are in need. Let's plug them into the Leyline platform. Let's start getting them rewards, and let's start getting some NFT charity sales underway. The second one is Red Cross Botswana. So actually one of the key points of contact here, Fakama, is not only connected to Red Cross, but about 6 to 10 other NGOs across Southern Africa. So we're going to start off with the Red Cross, and he's already identified 5 individuals in multiple communities in South Africa, and they're already signed up on Leyline now and testing, and they're actually going to be recording some videos and showing their communities and saying, like, here's the struggle. Like a lot of them actually volunteer in extreme poverty where there's like immense suffering taking place. So they want to show legitimately that We're going to bring some, ley line points, NFT, and cryptocurrencies into these communities, and we're going to see the impact it's going to have. So this will be an experiment that will run for probably like 3 to 4 months to demonstrate, okay, this thing is starting to work. There's actually money flowing here. It's going to be a challenge for them to figure out how to start to leverage the cryptocurrencies to get the exchanges in place. But we're building that foundation for them. And they are super excited. We did a walkthrough on Discord of the whole platform on Saturday. And they're already saying, okay, how do we like bring in like more people into this thing? I was like, yeah, hold on. Let's just like make sure this thing is going to work for everybody. So yeah, we've got a ton of passion, ton of interest here, and people on the ground that are the exact test cases of us proving that we can help eradicate poverty, even in this small test cohort. So there's a ton of excitement there. And it's also great because Red Cross is clearly like a good brand and credible organization that can validate that these people are genuinely in need. So, we have to be careful. There are NGOs out there that are, not really doing the right thing. And so we have to be mindful of connecting with the right credible partners on the ground, which is tough to do, to be honest. Like it's a very challenging thing to validate, because it's hard for us to fly out to Africa and then see what's happening there. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be a fun experiment. So the other component outside of, this group here, which we've identified and got commitment, is actually, the artists and the opportunity here. So clearly we have Andrew and Christine already producing some amazing stuff. We've also got another artist, Remo Camaro, who's got a pretty strong following on Instagram and Twitter and all that. And he's actually been selling NFTs for a while now on OpenSea. So he has a number of different collections here that he's created. He's sold quite a few of them. And you can see here that, certain NFTs are going for pretty high prices. And so the higher tier tends to be around a 20K range. Lower tier is more like a 1 to 2K. And so what he's done is he's donated a couple of pieces to us to basically run an auction. And so what we're going to do is we're going to post them up to OpenSea. We are going to promote the crap out of it via our communities, via his community, and via the NGOs communities, and just build some awareness here. So that'll be a first experiment to see, okay, this is our first like charity NFT sale auction. And the funds here, we're going to allocate to the creators, to the platform, to the NGO, and then ideally to the folks that are in need. And if that plays out well, that is a great model for us. And I think, Edu, for example, I think we should totally do the same thing with your stuff. So yeah, there's a lot to discover and experiment with, but you can see the potential opportunity for just distribution of economic value all across the board. So yeah, this is a very rapidly emerging and evolving space, but this is definitely the direction that these communities are moving into, which is how do we, reward artists like in a significant way, but then how do we also get value back into other people's hands? So that last piece, the whole like NGO and individuals getting rewarded is missing. So we fill a massive gap in the space. It's like, it's actually quite difficult for other people to do that because they're all for profit and trying to just make tons of money for themselves. So we're going to change that. We're going to change that stuff. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of like interesting stuff going on, and we do have our celebrity sale also in the works. Honestly, it's been a bit of a pain because we're still negotiating terms on that contract, but crossing fingers, we're going to make some progress there. But regardless, we have these we've got this growing grassroots movement and opportunity that we can capitalize while we're waiting for that stuff to get sorted out. All right. Any questions or comments with that latest stuff with our upcoming partnerships and opportunities? Okay. You guys can raise your hand anytime. Okay, so I'm gonna walk through our cool Caicas integrations. Again, big shout out to Hugo, to Shahul, to Kareem, to everybody on the team. Actually, there's too many people to name. But if you log in to Leyline, you can see that we actually have a Caicas wallet integration button over here. Oh, by the way, I did get 8 hours of sleep last night, so you guys should do the same, hopefully. So the nice thing is that we now have the ability to connect your Caicas wallet. So wait, are you guys able to see my pop-up window? Okay, hang on. Let me share the full screen so you can see the modals come on up. Hey, Jonathan. Good to see you, man. Oh, you missed out on some fun stuff.
Yeah, I just got my COVID shot.
Oh, congrats, man. All right. Okay. So when we go in and try to connect the wallet, essentially when you have logged into Caicas, that browser extension, you'll get a connection request to approve the site to have access to it. Once you've done that, you can now see the NFTs that you have exported into your personal wallet. So in order to export, you actually go into your profile inventory, open up an item, and I'll choose Antoine's awesome art piece here. And then you hit the export button. So once you've done that, it's actually going to move it from our custodied wallet on the back end for Leyline and then move it to your personal one. So you hit transfer, and then we kick off the function and move it onto your Caicas wallet. So I believe it takes a little bit of processing time for it to show up immediately. But once this is done, you'll now be able to see their NFT living on your personal wallet. So what will happen is it gets removed from your on Leyline inventory here and actually will be located here. So you can see now Captain Frey is over here on a Caicas wallet. So now what is cool is you can actually go into other sites that support the Caicas wallet and view your NFTs. So if we were to go to OpenSea, for example, the way you could do it is you log into OpenSea and you basically do the same thing where you connect your Caicas wallet. Let me see if I can log out just to show you the flow here. Log out. So when you go to OpenSea, you sign in with your wallet. So the default is MetaMask, but you use a different wallet and you choose Caicas and sign in. And you'll get another verification pop-up window. It doesn't show here because I already have the cookie in place. So you can see here, these are actually, this is my Leyline NFT. This is the Starburst, but I think we have a broken image link here. So FYI, Shahul, maybe we need a bug in for that one or I'll pop it in. So I believe there's that delay still with the actual transfer on a blockchain. So what'll happen is that latest one that I exported to my personal wallet will actually show up here in this collection. So once that happens, you could actually now go ahead and sell your NFT and it'll just be listed right on OpenSea in the marketplace. So the question is, okay, who's going to actually buy this stuff? Like one, Antoine's artwork is amazing. But the opportunity is, what is the story behind it? So we have the opportunity to plug in all these different properties specific to the NFT, but also have a description for this is the story behind it. Like it was created by this artist, Antoine. It was minted by spending these Leyline points, and those Leyline points were earned from blood donations and from exercising and from donating computing power to cancer research. That is a critical piece behind this, where when people are looking at this, they understand it's not just about the art piece. It's also about the story and the people behind it. And as we implement the evolving NFTs component, there will also be the additional art assets. So a level 1, level 2, level 3 version of the assets, the videos behind it, the video of the artist time-lapse creating it, like what Andrew's doing for some of the NFTs. That's the whole vision for how our NFTs are going to continue to add more and more value behind it. Yes, Brian.
Separate question is moving it from Leyline's wallet to Caicas wallet, is that a one-way transaction? Is there any way to go backwards, or is there any reason to go backwards?
The plan is to have it go backwards. In fact, the functionality is there, but when Pineapple was testing it, they disappeared. So we have to fix that bug. But yes, absolutely. You can actually purchase NFTs off of OpenSea and then import them into the Leyline so you can see your profile. I think in the future, we would love for it to just happen automatically where, for example, you have your Leyline inventory, but then maybe your Caicas inventory here. So it just auto detects and without having to import, but it creates a whole bunch of nasty edge cases that we'd have to tackle first. So it's why we have it on a separate page for the moment.
And is the vision to be able to display like any arbitrary NFT or art on your profile?
I believe we need to have some kind of flag to indicate that it's like Leyline compatible. Because otherwise, the metadata wouldn't exactly fit or show up correctly. So I think we need some kind of quality control there to indicate that there's a flag that says this is Leyline available or compatible. And what else to show here? But yeah, good questions, Brian. Thank you. Other questions? So yeah, let's see if you guys can actually do this thing, and would love your feedback and love to test it out. But just to explain again, the kind of metadata that we want to have on the Leyline items. So when you open up right now, it's fairly sparse in terms of metadata, but the plan is to continue to increase the amount of information that's useful and relevant, that kind of builds some uniqueness into that instance of the NFT, particularly the description, but also the type of activities that you did to earn it. As the key is you have to earn these NFTs. It's not just about paying money for it. There's an element of you're doing good things, but also the community is doing good things tied to this thing. Then the unlock of assets as well. So there's some work to do for us to be able to translate that into these marketplaces so that it recognizes those values. Yeah, that's some future work for us to take care of. We'll get there step by step. It's we're not trying to swallow the ocean, but that's the direction we're going. So the proof of concept of us having our NFTs now up for sale is there. So now if we have a bunch of our users starting to post up their collections, we have the ability to even promote that and say, listen, we've identified 10 users here that have contributed 10,000 hours to science research and computing power. And let's get their NFTs purchased and we can see what happens. So the bigger the community, the bigger our reach, the more we have this ability to help promote the individuals and the users on our platform and drive some sales and potentially tie it to the NGOs that they're participating in. So there's a giant opportunity here now in terms of income flow. And we just have to be able to market to the whales, to the people that have the money, that want to collect the art, that want to collect these stories, or that care about these social causes and say, you know what? The art is what it is, but man, this is such a great cause. I'm going to purchase this with my money. So that's the whole concept. That's where we are right now. And you can imagine where we first started, which was, hey, let's build like the world's fastest supercomputer from gamers. And we've been on quite the journey to get here. But I think that's part of the whole startup process is you go in with a hypothesis, you test it out and realize, oh man, this is not a product market fit. Let's try the next thing. So, there's this nice convergence of, we anticipated that crypto would explode. We anticipated that NFTs would explode. We anticipated that nonprofits would love to connect to this type of platform, and we anticipated people want to make money. So a lot of these things are now true, and they're actually outpacing us. And so it's like, how do we have to fit our product and community into that specific niche coming out of this these emerging trends? So we are very well positioned, guys. Like, it is really, really cool to see how nicely our evolution is, converging with this whole movement. So well done to all of you guys. Thank you for all the hard effort and energy you put into this, and your patience as we've gone through a bunch of chaos to get to this moment or get to this point in time. And so, yeah, big thank you. All right, that's mainly it. And yeah, any other questions?
I just have a random comment.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty cool if we could be the hallmark of NFTs, where no matter which one you get, you always check the back to see if it has that ley line history to it, and that's like a compulsory thing. That's the goal.
Yeah, man, 100%. And now, yeah, imagine that, because once we have our NFTs, because we actually have some other partnerships underway where these guys are building interoperability across all blockchains. They're called High Vibe Network. Then we now have the ability to transport these NFTs with all the metadata anywhere else in the metaverse. So you can imagine the next generation, this is already happening, is they're taking these digital identities and plugging into to CryptoVoxels and Decentraland and all these new emerging virtual worlds. And so people are now hanging out in their virtual homes and their virtual living rooms, and they're displaying all their art pieces in their personal galleries. And so people are virtually walking around their art galleries, and they can click on the details and see whoa, there's a story behind this. This is for the Red Cross. There is 10 people in Botswana in extreme poverty that are now earning from this. It was purchased by, this celebrity who cared about the cause. That story is now baked into that art piece. So in the real world, you just see an art piece, and then you have a person lie about it and say yeah, I'm about to set an auction from this celebrity, blah, blah, blah. But now the proof is on the blockchain. The story is there. It's unhackable. It's unchangeable, and it's verified by these nonprofits on the ground. So there is a massive value proposition that we're creating, because people want that sense of identity and status and recognition of these achievements. So yeah, we are totally creating something that doesn't exist today, for sure. And as people understand that this is tied to value and impact in the real world, it sets us apart from literally everything that's out there. So it's super exciting. I love that, Richard. We're going to make that happen. All right. So I guess I'll cut it short and give you guys 10 minutes back. But thank you again. This is super exciting times. We are pushing through. We're trying to make this whole revenue, recurring revenue business model now happen. This is the first opportunity for us to really prove it out. So stay tuned. We're going to do some cool stuff over the next week or two, and I'll keep you guys updated.